Welcome in to the Crossroads Podcast after a bit of a sabbatical.
Yep.
Part of that reason we'll discuss in this very podcast today. We are back and we've booted the normal people to the curb.
Yep.
Well, one of them we booted all the way across the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
That's true. And then the other one took a cupcake and left. So he seems unbothered by all of this. But in their stead, we bring you Zach. We bring you Steve. Gentlemen, why are we here today?
We're here to talk about Brazil.
Yep.
Can you say it in a more exciting way?
Brazil. How's that?
I appreciate it because we have a cut from Fast and the Furious at another thing that I do. And they play it every time I mention that the Cowboys are going to play the Ravens.
All right,
Every single time. Now, I want to get into y'all's specifics about Brazil in just a few minutes. But this is far from the only mission that y'all have going. And just like in this last month, y'all did Brazil. Next week, we're going to talk about Puerto Rico. Right now is the Germany mission trip, which I know you and I were both on last year. So, and I know this is not the only month of missions. How has the church been able to expand the mission work that y'all do? And I asked Jason and Wes this once before, like, how do you pick? There are so many underserved places, even in this country and across the world. How do the decisions get made about where to go and what the focus will be at these places?
You know, I think that it depends on several things, and I'll let you pitch in on this also. But we look at relationships that we happen to somehow make connections that draw us to certain areas, and I'll give you an example on that. One of the new mission partners that we're just starting out with is in Torreon, Mexico.
Okay.
Well, it just so happens that one of the young ladies on staff here at Deanna, her family is from Torreon, and some of her family attends that church. And they said, we have a need down here. We have new pastors that have just taken over this church. It's a very Crossroads similar church, as a matter of fact. And I don't know how much you know about Torreon, but it's like 3 million people. So it's a pretty large metro area.
3 million and one. She just had a baby.
Trust me. That's true. Well, she lives here now.
She lives here. Yeah.
But so the connection there, and she said we would love to have a mission partnership with what I consider to be my family's home church back in Mexico. Took a quick trip down there.
Okay.
She and I and her husband Ryan back in March, and spent a weekend down there scoping it out. And we said, yeah, you know what? This is an area they're doing great work down here. We need to partner with these people and let them or help them in their mission work that they're doing here in Torreon. Spain. A number of other initiatives. I'm not even sure how the Spain thing came about, but yeah, you're absolutely right. The church is really reaching out to a number of different areas now.
Yeah.
Because essentially, y'all just did, or the church just did, like an exploratory trip to Spain, right? To kind of work out some of those details?
Yeah, I mean, that's how it always starts is, honestly, it either is because of a relationship that's already here at the church, again, families connected to a city or something like that, or organizations that are out there, again, talking about Brazil today, but Amazon Outreach, it's an organization that they are looking for churches, right? So a lot of these organizations, they're going to come visit your church, especially ones that they see are already active in missions. And that is one of the biggest things we pride ourselves on as Crossroads, is being, again, one relationship at a time is our like mission statement as a church. And how we do that is by local stuff, but also international, forming relationships and, getting plugged into different communities. And I think these organizations in our area that are connected to DFW, they see that. And a lot of them, again, if it's not a relationship that's already here at church, somebody from an organization will come in and just ask to meet with Wes and Ryan, who are over our missions. And then a lot of it gets started there. And then if we see, okay, this fits our values, we see a need here, then it's the next step of an exploratory trip. You go with an organization, another church, something like that, 2-3 staff members or volunteers of the church that are mission-minded and know what we're looking for. They're going to go scope out the area, think of logistics, where are we going to stay, how are we going to eat, all this stuff. And then other people are going to be looking at, okay, what does the actual mission work look like here? Does the church we're going to partner with here, again, share our values? Do they share our heart for what we're doing? Right. All this kind of stuff. And then after that trip, they come back, we discuss it together, everybody's like, all right, this adds up to what we want, what we're trying to accomplish. then we move forward with an actual trip.
And you're just kind of touching on this because the goals and the work involved with each particular mission can be pretty radically different
absolutely.
depending on the destination you're going, yes?
Yeah, what you do in Puerto Rico is different than what you do in Germany,
Right.
is different than what you do in Mexico, is dramatically different than what you do in Brazil.
Yep.
Yeah, everywhere you go, it's very different depending on what their focus is, what their needs are in that community, or as in the case with Amazon Outreach, what their more of a regional outreach in that area is. So yeah, it can be dramatically different. You're right.
You guys were mentioning kind of and I just realized for our audience, we did not engage in enough nonsense to start this. I think that has been a staple for a lot of these. So I'll try to work that in along the way.
Okay.
But you talked about kind of the goals and the heart of your church. Like, what does that look like? And how do you know when you're, okay, this is a spot?
Our church, Kevin?
I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry. Our church.
So you go here.
Yes,
all right,
I
this
do
is
go
your
here.
church too.
That's true.
I mean, yeah, again, we have staff values, we have church values. I mean, if you go through our membership class, you see our church values are the word, oh man, grow, connect, serve, and celebrate. Right, producer?
Yeah.
I'm
One
like
time he's not allowed to
99%
talk
sure.
back.
He is completely affirming you on that. for those that
99%
can't
sure
see.
that's all of them, but on the spot, I'm a little worried. I may have missed one, but I'm pretty positive.
Well, just real quick, are you also 99% sure about the goatee versus the beard?
I like
I
it.
love it.
I just
I
want to
love
say
it.
I like it.
I love
Okay.
it.
It's very professional looking, if you ask me.
Let's cut a picture in of Parker right here.
Yeah.
He took a
Yeah.
staff picture today because he's now the PE teacher at Limitless.
Oh,
Is
All
that
right.
why you shaved the beard, to be like more PE coachish-y, you know?
Pure accident.
Oh, okay.
You're-
oh, actually, I will need to hear about that once we complete this discussion.
Anyways, if we go on those trips, we're looking to see how are we going to accomplish those values. So obviously, you're going on a mission trip, we should be serving. We shouldn't be going to a place that is just pouring at us. We want to take things there that we can do for that
Right.
community, bless them, serve them well. Is there opportunity for, again, connection to form relationships, things like that? We want to do that. Are we making sure that this area we're going to, we're helping them grow in their walk? Are we connecting them to local churches? Those are big things we're looking for. And then celebrate. Are we going to be having fun with them? Like we want to show people, again, even at Crossroads, following Jesus is a joyful experience. So when we go to these other countries, we want to have some fun with the people. We want to, again, celebrate. We want to party, like do things with them to honor what God is doing
Right.
there, and be excited for how God is moving.
Yeah.
What for y'all, I guess, is kind of the determination process then, year by year, of which trips you go on? I know ideally, hey, let's take all of the trips, but some of them even like conflict against one another, so you couldn't even do that. So how do you, like y'all personally, kind of decide which trips you can go on?
You mean as a church or individually?
Individually, the church, I feel like we've got a better sense of that. But I wanted to know, yeah, that's right. I wanted to know for y'all specifically how you two as individuals can make that determination.
Me personally, I was asked by Jason several years ago to take an exploratory trip down to Brazil and check it out. He calls me out of the blue one day and says, "Hey, how do you feel about going and floating down the Amazon River for a week and a half, sleep in a hammock, and just hit villages along the river? Check it out and see."
I like two of those things.
I was like, "What are you talking about?" You know, because when you think about the Amazon, and we'll get more into it in a little bit, I know it's a pretty radical thing.
Yes.
And I mean, you're going to the ends of the world.
Right.
And so he asked me to go down and asked me to invite my friend Mickey to go with us, and so the two of us went down there to check it out. And we just kind of took on the leadership of that mission, that particular mission for the church. And so when
So you're
that
pretty
mission
invested from the very beginning.
yeah, I am. So when that trip happens, I'm on the trip.
Okay.
Now, hopefully in the future, we'll train up some other people in case I can't make it. I don't think that I would be able to do every single trip every year, but that's what happened with me. Now, other staff has an opportunity, if they're not leading a trip or they're not basically in charge of that particular mission, then they have an opportunity to decide, hey, I'd like to do Germany this time, I want to do Spain, Mexico, whatever, you would probably be able to speak better to that as to how to decide which trip to take in any particular year.
And can I ask kind of an add-on question to that? Do you have almost like a mission trip bingo card where you're like, I would really like to be able to get all of the ones that we do kind of in a rotating fashion?
Yeah, I mean, I love going to new places.
Okay.
I've loved, again, one of my favorite things about being a Christ follower is I tell people, like, he will take you to places you never thought you would go in your life. A few years ago, I never thought I would be the guy going to all these different parts of the world. But with mission trips through Crossroads, like, I've been to Germany, I've been to Spain, I've been to a couple countries in Africa, I've been to down to the border of Mexico, I've been to Brazil. And like that is all because of following Jesus and getting the opportunity to go spread the gospel at all these places. So for me, I don't know if I really have necessarily a big way I determine it.
Okay.
Right now in my life, it's about to be what's the one, well, really, it's the one my wife allows me to go on. And then now it's going to be what's the one she'll allow me to go on with our child,
Yeah.
or she'll allow me to go without her and the child.
Probably without at the very beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that's going to be the biggest factor for me moving forward for a while. But I would say up until this, it was really just where's the need. So like this trip, like I had no intention of going on it initially, but then Steve said that there wasn't a lot of younger guys going who needed somebody to go and play soccer. Yeah. And I thank God that I played soccer for 15 total minutes on that trip. Because
We'll talk more about that.
Is it the
There's
skill?
a
Is it
reason
the
why.
Okay, we'll
There's
get
a
to
reason
that.
to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I would have died. But yeah, I was grateful that that ended up not being how I was used. But that was really how it got started for me to get connected there was Steve said there was a need,
Yeah.
and I went for it. So, yeah, I don't know. I think for a lot of people, the timing of it can be a big factor.
Yeah.
And moving forward, I know we're going to try to start. Wes's goal is to really start spreading them out throughout the year. So I think
Right.
timing of when it is going to be a big factor. Your own health and ability level for some of these trips is going to be a big factor for people. What can you realistically, physically handle?
Yeah.
Because some of them are a lot more tasking than others.
Well, can we stop on that for just 1 second? Because, like, if somebody is not entrenched in the church community or they have not been on a mission trip, I'm speaking of myself on the latter, it can be a little bit of a shock how much work it is. Because people might be like, oh, you're going to Brazil or you're going to Germany. And there is plenty of time for fun. But, man, you better be ready to go.
Yep.
Yeah, it's we're going for a reason, and they call it a mission for a reason. We're going on mission,
Right.
and you got to make use of your time there. We're going to make an impact, as Zach said. We want to help, take every opportunity we can to help that local church or whatever organization we're working with there, so that when we leave, there's some seeds that have been planted or some headway been made that helps them in their ongoing mission in that area. I mean, yeah, there's got to be time for fun. There's got to be time for some downtime and some time to unwind a little bit. But as much as possible, yeah, man, we're going halfway around the world in some cases.
Yeah.
And you got to make use of that time.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing we talk about with every trip, I mean, you've been on a trip, you've heard this, Steve said it plenty of times on our Brazil trip, you have to be willing to be flexible going on any mission trip. So even if you're preparing a specific area or event or whatever it might be for a trip, if you're going into it thinking, I have complete control over at least this part of the trip, you are sorely mistaken, my friend.
So I do want to speak on that, and then we'll dive into some of the specifics for this trip. I can be a little bit of a control freak. And so that is one of the things, like, I know y'all are talking about how much other communities can be helped, but I also felt like I got a ton out of it, not just from helping others, but like for myself as well. And one of those things I think was kind of seeding a level of control. I don't want to make it sound like I did a perfect job, because I definitely did not, but seeding a level of control. What do you feel like you've learned things about yourself on these trips?
One thing that I talk about from the very beginning in the training classes leading up to any trip, whether it's Brazil or wherever else, is one of the really amazing things about missions is You see things and you do things, and you are put in position, and you probably experienced this as yourself. You're put in a situation or a position where, man, I can't do this. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this. Yep. And yet you're there to do it. And somehow, just by, okay, God, I'm putting myself in your hands because I know that of my own power and of my own ability, I can't do what I'm being asked to do right now. Somehow it gets done. Somehow you're able to come through. Somehow God is able to use you in that moment. And that is a faith-growing moment for you, because when you get through the other side of that and you realize, wow, man, God was able to use me. I just had to surrender.
Yep.
There was the word you used.
Yep.
I just had to surrender and allow him to use me in that opportunity. And my faith that I had that he was going to be able to do that, putting myself in his hands in that situation, it got accomplished. And now that your faith grows as a result of it. I experienced this. I saw it in action, actually. I'm on the other side of the world. I'm in the jungles of Brazil. I don't know what I'm doing here. And yet somehow God is making this happen, man, and things are happening. And that is a faith thing that you come through on the other side, and you can't be the same.
Yeah.
Your faith grows. Your faith becomes stronger that God, you have proven yourself here in this moment at this exact time. And your faith grows as a result of it, and you just cannot come out of it the same.
My wife had been on several mission trips to Africa before, and she goes, there's going to be a moment, and you're going to feel like, oh, man, and it feels like a change. I almost got nervous going into the trip. I was like, oh, man, what if I don't know when that moment is or whatever? You just realize it's not necessary, and it doesn't necessarily always have to be this like very specific motion picture-esque moment.
Yeah.
But I definitely get that. Well, then kind of the same for you. Yeah. How much of these trips just kind of changed you as a believer and as a person?
Yeah, I think I've learned that it's really hard to have both pride and joy on a mission trip. Like you really get to pick kind of one or the other. Am I going to make this experience all about me? Well, if you do, you're probably going to be complaining a lot. You're going to have a really hard time getting invested with people, connecting, because you're just going to be so physically exhausted that you're just going to end up complaining the whole time. Where if you go, I'm going to lean into, again, the joy of the Lord is my strength. I know I'm going to be emptied out, because that's what it is on mission trips. You're going to be completely emptied of everything else you've taken into it. You're going to be so exhausted that there's going to be nothing left in the tank. And if you have not decided at that point, I'm going to lean on God rather than myself, then it's going to go really bad. But if you lean on him, man, do you just get this weird sense of joy. You're like, I am so tired. I can't move anything in my body. My brain can't even think thoughts at this point, but I'm smiling and I'm crying and I don't know why.
Yeah.
But that's, I think if you go in with the right attitude a lot of the time, and again, you cede over any control or again, any pride, and you go, I'm just going to follow whatever the leaders say. I'm going to follow whatever this group of people needs. We're just going to fit into whatever is needed in this moment. Then amazing things happen.
You know, it's really amazing, and I make this observation almost every time we go on a trip like what we did, and that is you got a group of people that are put in some of the most uncomfortable positions of their life. They have no control. Us that are control freaks, I'm right there with you. I mentioned that on the boat, I think. Like in situations that we were in, you're hot, you're tired, you're exhausted at the end of the day, you're doing this day after day. Man, I don't know if I've got anything left in the tank, and this is a day thing. And then you get to the end of that trip and you think, that was one of the most amazing experiences of my life.
Yeah.
Why, when we're back here, do we not feel the same way? Why when I'm uncomfortable here? Yeah. Why when I lose control here? Why when I'm put in uncomfortable situations here? Why when I'm exhausted here? All of the things I experienced on the trip that I see as a positive there, why can't we take that and experience it in the same way here?
Yeah.
And see that as the same. This is the most amazing experience of my life. This is the most miserable experience of my life.
Right.
Why is that juxtaposition? It's really amazing.
Yeah. That is a great question, and I feel like I kind of went through that whole cycle when we were in Germany last year as well. So we've talked about some specifics, but more broad. So I want to dive into the specifics. Walk me through how long the trip is, how long it takes to get there, and then what is the mission, or what was the mission and continues to be the mission of this mission?
It is a very challenging first day of travel.
Yeah.
We leave from the church at like 4 a.m. on a shuttle to go to the airport because there is no direct flight from Dallas to Manaus, Brazil. Just to give a little broader view, we fly into the city of Manaus, which is the largest city in Amazonia, which is the Amazon jungle, northern Brazil. It's
Okay.
on the exact opposite side of the country from like Rio and places like that. It's a city of about 3 million people, and right on the Amazon River in north central Amazon in Brazil. There's no direct flight into there from DFW. So from here we have to fly into. This time we flew into Orlando. And then from there, you have to fly to Panama City. And then from there, you fly into Manaus. So you start here at about 4 a.m. to go to the airport, fly to Florida, layover, fly to Panama City, layover, finally into Manaus. We arrive in Manaus, and I don't know why this is. We arrive at Manaus at 2:30 a.m., and that's when it seems like all the activity in that airport is, because that's when all the departures are happening, that's when all the arrivals are happening. We had other people joining us from other parts of the world, literally, on our team, and they were all arriving at 2:30 a.m. for some reason.
What's
And
the
so
time difference there?
It's only 1 hour. They're East Coast
Oh,
time there,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's almost directly due south
Yeah.
here, except just a little further east. So anyway, it's about a 24-hour travel to get there. And then you immediately go to the boat, okay? I'll let you describe the boat right quick.
Yeah, well, and then there's a 45-minute drive to get
Yeah.
from the airport to the boat. And then, yeah.
And you're exhausted at this point because you've
Yeah,
been
so
awake
you-
basically for 24 hours.
Yeah, so you get on the boat, and honestly, I hardly remember anything of that first day on the boat because I was so tired. And that first night, I'll admit, I thought, man, hammock sleeping is awesome. And because that's what we sleep in every night on that boat. So we get to the boat, and I mean, most people just pass out pretty much right away. And then you wake up at like 10 a.m. and we eat breakfast. So, it didn't seem so bad when we first got there because your body's just ready to shut down no matter what. But then for us, we had, I think it was like 28-hour boat ride.
Oh my
Describe the boat right quick.
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah. The
Yeah,
boat
because
is-
it's probably not what people are picturing.
No.
The boat is what you live on for the entire week.
Yeah.
You take all your meals there, you sleep there, you use
Yeah.
the restroom there, you shower there, you do everything on the boat.
everything.
Oh, wow.
So it's a 3-story boat that we're on. The first floor that we originally get through, that is just where the crew sleeps and some of the translators. So yeah, it's what, 20 of us, probably another 10 translators.
10 or 12 translators and about
then
another 12 or 15
of
boat crew.
Yeah, so it's a good amount of people. And this was a smaller trip. I couldn't imagine having more Americans on the boat too,
Yeah.
because you're already pretty packed in every time. So some of them sleep on the bottom floor.
Did you guys have anybody in your group that spoke Portuguese or?
Well, we had one lady that joined us from Amazon Outreach, which is
Okay.
the organization we work
Yeah.
with. And she's from Brazil, so she spoke Portuguese, but
Okay.
from the church, no.
Okay.
So it was
Okay.
all through translators.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So some of them would sleep. They slept on the bottom floor. Then you get to the second floor. That's where all the females slept. That was also where the bathrooms were, the showers, and there was 4 bathrooms?
2 bathrooms and 4 showers.
2 bathrooms, 4 showers. Yeah.
4:30.
Well, okay, they had showers and
They had
bathrooms for
some
the
on the
crew
other
on their
side.
lower
Okay.
level.
Yeah.
But for the translators and the Americans,
The main ones we
yeah.
used for probably 20 of us at least was 2 bathrooms, 4 showers.
Okay.
And then the top floor was where the kitchen and where the guys slept. And that was also where we ate all our meals. So every day we would have to set up all of the tables and chairs that we'd eat the meals at on our floor. And then every night we put all that up and we put the hammocks up for us to sleep in. So that's about the boat. I mean, and that's pretty much all there is on the boat. Like there's not much else. I mean, it's a fairly long boat, I guess. It's decently big, but I mean, still
Yeah.
with 30, 40 people,
Right.
you better like them.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're
yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
pretty tight.
Because you're not
Yeah.
going anywhere.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
on the boat
Right.
and you're not going
Yeah.
anywhere. So yeah, you immediately go to the boat off of the plane and you have about a 28-hour journey down the Amazon River to get to where the villages were that we're going to do our ministry work. And it's actually not on you go for probably about 20 hours down the Amazon, and then you take a tributary off of that, another 8 or so hours down this tributary. You're going down in the jungle.
Yeah.
So you're not even on the main river. You're on a tributary. So about a 28-hour journey from the time we get on at 5 a.m. or so on Saturday morning until we arrive in the first village Sunday morning, and then we do our first ministry work in the first village on Sunday morning.
So before you even get to like technically the work part of it, what is your exhaustion? Maybe dare I say frustration level?
Fortunately, I mean, it's kind of fortunate that you do have that kind of travel time on the first day because there's a lot of opportunity to rest.
Okay.
You do sleep for a couple of hours when you first get on there. You do, like Zach said, you have breakfast, and then they give you more time to take a nap and do whatever. And then that afternoon, we'll do some work prepping for the next day for being in the villages and stuff. But there is a lot of time to take a nap if you need to and just kind of have some downtime and a rest. So the exhaustion level hasn't hit yet. That's going to hit later.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the best part, I guess you could say, of the living situation was the food. They could cook up some food on that boat, and we ate every meal. And they had tons of food.
Yeah,
so
they did.
You didn't go hungry at any point. That was honestly, that was the best part of the living situation. Was you always knew at least the meal was going to be. If you had a rough night of sleep, you knew breakfast was coming. So
big fresh tropical fruit platter every breakfast.
Bacon,
eggs, Brazil, all kinds of Brazilian pastries that they make.
Wow.
They have a really fully stocked kitchen there. It's a professional kitchen, and they've got a chef and a couple of kitchen helpers. And man, they're there. They live with us on the boat the entire week, and that's all they're there for is to cook our 3 meals a day.
Now, when you were talking about the translators, my experience in Germany was very different because a whole lot of people there spoke English, or at least somewhat spoke English. Where you guys were going to minister, were there? No. I kind of figured, but I was like, I don't want to make that assumption. All right,
Portuguese.
So nobody there is speaking English, or even like kind of half and half. Nope. We got that a lot in Germany.
I don't remember one of the villagers that spoke any English.
Okay, what kind of challenges, and even with the translators, what kind of challenges do you feel like that presents or could present?
I don't know that really did.
Okay, great.
And the part of the reason for that is because how good our translators are. They're employed by Amazon Outreach, so they probably do 20 trips a year on these boats, and they know what they're doing. They're all strong believers. They all know what they're doing, and and some of them actually grew up in these villages, and so they know the village culture. They're very well educated about how to communicate with these people on a level that they understand. They understand the culture of these villages very, very well. And so because of that, they're able to help us not only as they translate for us, but translate in a way that the villagers better understand. As you know, even from biblical translation, it doesn't always translate exactly right.
Yeah.
Right? Well, the same way from English to Portuguese or whatever, and culture to culture, they have to take what we say and translate it in a way that the villagers will understand and can connect with. And they do a great job of that. And so my experience has always been that really helps. And the villagers are so appreciative. Yeah. They call themselves the forgotten people, because they live in this extremely remote area of the Amazon and they get no help. This village is 50 people. This village is 100 people. This village is 125 people. And they're very separated from each other. There's no highway system. There's nothing like that. All they have to get around is boats on the river.
Yeah, the river is their
highway
system.
That's it. Yeah. That's exactly right. And so they call themselves the forgotten people because they're so overlooked. And so any help that they get whatsoever is so appreciative. They appreciate it so much. And so they know that we're coming. They know if the big boat is coming. The word gets around. And the pastors that work down in that area, they tell them weeks in advance, on this day, we're going to be there with the big boat. Well, they know what that means. There's medical services coming, dental services coming. We're going to take care of them in so many different ways. We're going to bring stuff for them. We're going to bring supplies for them. And they know somebody is coming to help us.
Okay, so you just said something that when I originally saw this mission trip, you can go on the trip if perhaps you do not possess those medical or dental abilities, then yes. Okay, because when I first read about it, I was like, oh, that sounds like something I could get involved with. I do not possess said skills, and I don't want to take a spot of somebody who does.
Are you medically trained?
Oh,
I didn't want to make an
Neither am
assumption.
I.
Didn't want to make an assumption.
No. That's only, I mean, honestly, that's probably half of it. The
Right.
other half is ministering to the kids, the teens, the women's ministry and the men's ministry. So, the medical part is probably only half of what you do.
The medical part is really what attracts them and brings them in. And really the goal is we're going to go care for their physical needs that then opens the door and gives us an opportunity to care for their spiritual needs.
Because what is the percentage-ish, if you had to guess going in, of people, you said the translators are believers, obviously y'all are believers. What about the people that you're ministering to?
In terms of Christian believers, I mean, except we had the last village we went to, all of them were, at least from what we understand.
They had
But
a
that's an
strong church
anomaly.
and pastor that lived there, but virtually every other village had very little gospel presence. And some of the villages that we've gone to over the last several years have never had the gospel message presented to them. We were the first ones to ever take it to them. So when you talk about cutting edge and we're the point of the spear, we do a lot of missions here at this church, and we do a lot of good work at this church, but there is not another trip that we take that you are actually reaching the ends of the earth, people that have literally never heard the gospel message.
The only thing sometimes that you may have for a religion was Catholicism. So the theology is
that makes sense in Brazil.
Right.
Okay, so then whether it's this trip, whether it's previous trips to kind of incorporate both of y'all, what is that like? What is that experience? What are those moments like when you present the gospel to somebody who's never heard of it before and might not even be aware of most of the concepts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's very unique, right? Like, it's different than here because in America, everybody has an idea. Like, they know the basics of Christianity. A lot of the time it's more they haven't accepted it for themselves or don't think they deserve it or whatever it might be, right? Or they just flat out don't believe it.
Sure.
Whereas you go to these other places when they've never known about it. I mean, even you go to Germany, they have such a wrong idea of it.
Yeah.
You go to these third world countries where they never heard it, remote people. It's just so different because there is this, they already have like some sense of joy, but they don't know where it comes from.
Yeah.
So for them to know where it comes from it's really cool to see it like finally, I guess, be understood for them.
So you feel that level of, or can feel that level of excitement?
Yeah, most of them have at least heard the name of Jesus.
Okay.
Because they were colonized by Portugal 200 years ago,
right?
And at the point of a spear, or point of a sword, they were forced into Catholicism.
Yeah.
So they've heard the name of Jesus, and most of the village either have a small Catholic chapel in the village or somewhere in one of the local villages.
Okay.
Unfortunately, with each one of those, though, the priest comes like once every 6 months, if that.
Wow.
And their Catholic belief is a real mixed belief of Catholicism, but also some voodoo culture, some superstitions, old ritualistic type religions that still carry over to this day. They're in the middle of the jungle. There's going to be a lot of that stuff that goes on, and so when we come and we say this Jesus that you've heard about is not the Jesus that is the true, authentic Jesus.
Right.
Let us tell you about the real one, and let us tell you what he actually did for us.
Yeah.
So at least their small knowledge of who Jesus was. Okay, yeah, I've heard that name before, and I haven't got an idea of who he was. That the door is cracked open, at least for us to present the gospel to them, and them have an opening to accept that word. Yeah. So a little bit of the table has been set for us, at least so that because they like I said, they have some knowledge of Jesus, but man, their knowledge of what the gospel message is non-existent.
It's not a personal
That's what
relationship.
we have. That's what we have the opportunity to do.
Well, with that in mind, then, I don't know if there is such a thing as a typical day on this trip, but if you could give me a description, what does a typical, or as close as you can get to that, day look like on this trip?
Yeah, I mean, wake up, get ready for breakfast.
Wait,
give me
let me put one thing in here.
Oh, yeah.
Wake up to the most amazing sunrises
That
over
is
the
true.
Amazon River
That is true.
that you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
Give me
That's what you wake up
times
to.
ish then,
Yeah.
if you can recall.
I mean, was it breakfast at 7?
Breakfast is at 7, but
Yeah.
most of the guys are awake by 5:30 or 6 because the
sunrise.
sun's coming up
Yeah.
and it's shining in your eyes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So usually, wake up around there, breakfast by 7, and then after breakfast, we'll have a meeting. We'll have a time of worship, a short devo, kind of break down the pastor that was with us from the Brazilian church we partner with. He kind of tells us a little bit about the village, what to expect, that kind of thing. That's where we would know, okay, a lot of Catholic presence here, no presence at all. Like in the last village, this is all believers. So today is
Okay.
all about
So nice
encouraging
intel. Yeah.
brothers and sisters. Yeah. So we get to learn that there. Everybody makes sure they know what they're doing for the day. And then probably had 20 minutes or so to kind of get your stuff together, get off the boat. We get off the boat. We're there probably 3.5-ish hours before lunch. And I mean, the time, what you do there is all dependent on your ministry you're working
Yeah.
in. So there's eyeglass, there's dentists, there was physical therapy, there was triage, there was kids, there was men's, there was women's, and there was evangelical.
And that was house to house. We had a group of guys that went. For those that weren't coming to the center of the village, they were staying in their homes. They were going home to home to
Yeah.
visit with them in their homes and present the gospel to them in the homes also.
And I'm sure homes can differ to a certain degree. What does that look like there?
Like the look of the homes?
or the inside or whatever you can tell me. I
Yeah.
paint me a picture.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get to go in
Oh,
any of the
okay.
homes from what I can recall.
It does vary from village to village. Some villages have a large percentage of nothing more than thatched huts.
And that's why I kind of wanted to throw that out there because, I'm asking questions because hopefully other people want to know,
Yeah.
but I want
Yeah.
to know as well.
In other villages, if it was a little bit of a larger village, you're looking at shacks. They're using plywood and tin steel to put together shacks.
Right.
It's all they've got.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
have nothing. And so I had an opportunity to go into several of them and sit down and visit with them. And something that I remember JD, a gentleman that was on the trip with us, he commented, they've got nothing, and yet everything that they do, they take such care of. You don't see trash, you don't see graffiti, you don't see them having trashed the place. They don't have anything, so what they do have, they really take good care of. So if you go into one of these homes, man, they got nothing, but they take care of what they do have.
Yeah.
And that kind of reminds me like broader perspective. We've talked about this on the podcast in the past. It does seem to kind of mimic some Western culture when you're like, the more information you have, or the more choices you have, or the more this or that, it can like maybe kind of chip away and make you a little bit miserable at times.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
that is a fascinating perspective, and that is one thing I loved on our mission trip. Is it kind of recalibrates you a little bit, and I can't imagine for y'all first time, many times, how that can't impact you thinking, maybe the things that I think are the biggest issue in the world at the moment are not really that important.
It certainly forces you to have a greater appreciation
Right.
for what we have. Yeah.
How could
For
it
sure.
not? Yeah, how could it not?
yeah.
All right, so you mentioned one other thing, and I know this might sound minor, but when you mentioned eyeglass, I was like, man, I didn't even think about that. But then if you are struggling getting medical and dental, I can't even imagine the people who are suffering vision-wise, like how those people get treated for.
Well, yeah, the vision ministry that we have down there is reading glasses. We don't have an opportunity to like have them do eye charts.
But still, that can be a
prescription.
game changer.
Yeah.
It is because the glare of the sun off of the river constantly really impacts their eyes. There's a high degree of cataracts. There's even a high degree of younger people whose vision is impacted. I had kids, like I remember last year, there's this like 14-year-old kid that comes sit down in front of me and he says he needs reading glasses. I'm like, get this kid out of here. He doesn't need reading glasses. He's only 14 years old. And they're like, no. He does. The glare impacts their eyes so much that even at this young of an age, it impacts their ability to read. He can't see to do his homework at night.
I never
And
would've
so
thought
a
about
14 or 15-year-old kid is sitting in front of me needing reading glasses because of the constant glare of the sun.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That, I mean, when you say it, it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
I never would have thought about that.
No, I didn't either until I saw it for myself.
So you get to lunch. What's on the other side, and where did you guys break out in this trip? Like, what was your responsibility? What were you doing? Same for you?
Yeah.
Well, kind of as the leader, I floated. I saw where the need was. I tried in every village to have an opportunity to sit down with the leader of the village and just have a one-on-one with them, a real heart-to-heart with them. Hey, what does leadership mean to you? Hey, let me tell you what I believe godly leadership is and how God could help you to lead your community better, that sort of a thing. So
Do you usually find that the leaders are pretty open to the message?
Very much so. They're very humble and they're very appreciative that we're there and taking our time with
Yeah.
them. So yeah. But what they're really appreciative of also is that, look, anytime you go into a place like this, and I told you guys this from the very beginning, Americans, when you go to parts of the world that are like this, Americans are celebrities. They don't see Americans. Okay, so when they do, it's a big deal.
Right.
Okay, I've seen this. I've done Cuba, I've done Turkey, I've done Brazil now, I've done different places of the world. Everywhere I've gone, people come because Americans are here. I want to see an American. I've never seen an
Really?
American before.
Huh.
Yeah, so the fact that someone like me, an American, would sit down in his humble home with him, express appreciation to him for his hospitality, for having us into his village, and I let him know I'd like to hear your thoughts also, and I sincerely ask him, share with me your thoughts on leadership too. I'm not preaching to him. I'm trying to have an exchange of ideas with him, and that means something to him.
Yeah.
You know, that is extremely meaningful, that this guy has enough respect for me. He's not here trying to tell me he knows better than me. He's here showing enough respect for me that we're sharing ideas, and he wants my thoughts also. He doesn't want to just tell me his thoughts.
Yeah. For me, I was in kids ministry all week.
Okay.
So, I mean, that was a ton of fun. We would probably have 30-ish kids in most of the villages.
Good practice.
It was pretty unique. I mean, they would have a ton of fun, and then we get to like sit down and different people were teaching them each day. I mean, we just found different ways to engage with them. But there were like times where you'd just be sitting down for a little bit, and then a kid would just like get up and walk away, and you're like, what in the world? But like that is just what they're used. So they get up and they go to their parents, and they come back like 10 minutes later. It's like, all right. But I mean, for the most part, the kids were like awesome. They were a lot of fun. You just got to see them be extremely happy. We got to do like dances with them too.
Okay.
So they had a ton of fun with that. They loved to dance. But yeah, lots of games, just lots of engaging with them, loving on them. And yeah, we just saw even some of the moms would come over and they would see it, and we would get, I mean, the moms there would be 13 years old, 14 years old, which is another
Holy
like
moly.
big culture shock. But
Wow.
you even see them, and we do what we can to get them involved. And yeah, that, to go off on a side, that was probably the biggest culture shock of all of it, was seeing like a 14-year-old pregnant. And like that, not like it was a consistent thing.
Yeah.
Multiple of them in every village. You're like, wow.
Wow,
Like
that is-
these young ladies, even the young dudes, when you hit 12, 13 years old, like you're an adult.
Yeah.
And that's how they are expected to behave and stuff like that. I'm like, man, I like being, student pastor here and seeing all our 12, 13-year-olds. I'm like, y'all don't understand like how different it is in other places, the expectations you would have.
Other parts of the world, by the time you're your age, you're an
Yeah.
adult and you have responsibilities.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
just thinking about my 21-year-old. I was like, I do not need to have those expectations. Now, I know you said you were pretty pumped that you were not needed for all of the soccer.
Yep.
Did they play amongst themselves? Did they try you out? And they're like, next.
No, the first village was different. There was a reason for that. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Again, each village was very different. The last village, the one that again had believers and stuff like that, honestly, they had like lights that they strung up for like outside lighting.
Oh,
They had-
nice.
Their like church had like tile floors. It was like a nice bit, like stuff like that.
There's a little more advanced village
It
than
was
the
pretty.
other ones.
It was
yeah.
fairly advanced, but first village was very different. That one, you get off the boat and immediately it's just cow poop everywhere.
Yep.
Like everywhere.
All
So
through the village.
all throughout the village.
Everywhere
so
you
you're
walk.
like walking along, being careful. So we didn't play. Then Dave Denton, he was on the trip. He played volleyball with some of them for a little bit, but then like they stopped because it was also too hot for them. So we were like, okay. And then really after that day, I just kept with kids ministry. Every now and then Dave would play soccer with some of them. He would play for like an hour or so in some of the other villages. And I was grateful to not be playing because it was their winter, and yet it was 88, 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Wow.
The
Yeah.
UV was 11 to 12 each day.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like 100 miles
humidity.
south of the equator.
Yeah.
So the temperature doesn't change much throughout
Yeah.
the year. The only thing that changes is rainy season or non-rainy season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And none of their soccer, none of that's like underneath shade. I'm like, my poor skin is getting toasted out here.
Yeah,
so
you
I
do
was
have a
grateful.
fairer skin, perhaps. Yeah,
I was very grateful to get to be inside, doing things with the kids and stuff and getting to minister to them rather than running outside for hours on end.
Yeah, that first village, when we got there, like Zach mentioned, there was cow poop everywhere. Well, where there's cow poop, there's cows, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, there's cows everywhere in this village, just
Right.
wandering through the village.
Huh.
We have our medical team that's set up, and they've got these tables set up, and they're seeing patients, and they're triaging and doing this stuff. And they look back over their shoulder, and there's a cow looking over their shoulder, just kind of watching what they're doing. They're having to shoo away these cows. They just openly are roaming around. Well, the leader of the village told me, there's a cattle rancher that's down the river here a little bit, and he pays the village to allow some of his cows to pasture here, I guess, or whatever. Well, pasturing means free roaming throughout the whole village.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little bit of a source of income for the village for them to have some money for something. So bring your cows up here, and we don't have any gates, we don't have any fences, we don't have a way to keep them in, so we're just going to let them roam free. They're not going to go into the jungle because, who knows what's in the jungle. So the cows are just going to roam throughout the village. So they were all over the soccer field. There wasn't any soccer being played in that village.
Okay.
And so Zach and Dave, they immediately pivoted, to children's ministry, and I'm glad they did because they did a great job.
You guys, you were just mentioning the jungle. Is there like a real, or they tell you this is the border? Don't.
Oh, you can tell.
Don't
Yeah.
go past.
Where the big trees are. You
Yeah.
don't
Okay.
go into them.
Okay.
They literally carve out a space out of the jungle for the village.
Yeah.
And it's pretty well defined because if you go past that, you're in the jungle. And you're not gonna. You don't want to venture off into the
No.
jungle.
Okay. Yeah. And then you mentioned the multiple villages. Is this we hop back on the boat, travel to the next one, and what does that travel look
I say,
like?
because to go back to like what the day-to-day would look like, we go on the boat, eat lunch, have about an hour to kind of just recuperate for a little bit. We go back into the village, minister there for another 4 or 5 hours. Then we get back on the boat, get cleaned up, dinner time, and then between then and right when we get back in the boat and all the way through the night, at some point in that we traveled for 3, 4, 5 hours again.
Okay.
So that we can get to the next village. But they're pretty spaced out. Again, each village looked vastly different. Some are super small, some were fairly large. You had ones that it looked like most of the people lived pretty close to it, and other ones where it's like every quarter mile there's another house, and they seem pretty spread out.
Wow.
In the last village we went to, Zach mentioned that it was a little more advanced. It was
Right.
nicer. Well, we're about halfway through ministering for the day and doing our things, and we hear somebody crank up a generator. And we're like, what in the world's going on? Well, that was the day of the World Cup semifinal.
Yes.
And we're in Brazil.
Yeah.
Brazil is the most soccer crazy country
Right.
in the entire world. Well, this village in the middle of the Amazon was figuring out a way that they were going to watch. They had one television and one generator where they could
Brilliant.
generate some electricity, and they were going to watch that match. And so,
Did you
we're
get
like,
to stop and watch with them at all?
No, we didn't.
Oh.
We did notice a large percentage of the villagers that started to migrate over toward where the TV was.
Yeah.
I don't think they really stayed that long because we got a lot of participation still the
Yeah.
rest of the day. But we thought for a while, we're about to lose all of them. We might as well just pack up and go home because they're all going to be over there. But fortunately, that didn't happen. But there were quite a few of them that did.
That is pretty amazing too, because you hear like anecdotal stories of like, yeah, everyone's crowded around this one TV, and here you guys are saying, no, that is
That's the way it was.
the way it was.
In the middle of the jungle, a generator and a TV. And man, that was the village watching the one TV.
And that was the advanced one.
That's right. That's right.
That is what is the departure like when you guys are going to get on the boat to go to the next stop? Do you get like people seem appreciative and make sure to say the big goodbye and everything like
Yes.
that? What is that scenario like?
Usually we wrapped it up at the end of the day by, again, soccer's the big deal. So
Right.
we brought enough really nice soccer balls for each village to have several
Okay,
soccer balls.
smart.
And so I would ask the village leader to come up and in front of the village, I would thank them for their hospitality that day, let them know that we really appreciated being there, had some prayer time over them, and then presented him with a soccer ball. on
Probably to
behalf
a
of the
nice
village.
reaction.
Oh yeah, they loved that. They were excited because man, when we got there and we saw the few villages we saw them playing soccer ball, I'm surprised these balls were still rolling. Man, they were worn out. So
Yeah.
getting some really nice new leather soccer balls, had the World Cup stuff all over it. That's usually the way we ended up the day. There was a couple of villages with the wells that we had dug. Tell them about that.
Yeah, we got to go for a couple of well dedications while we were there. Again, it's just a fresh water supply. The Amazon River itself, I don't know why. I always thought it was going to be like clear water because whenever we're not in America, I just assume it's going to
Yeah.
be clear water. That was not the case.
so much.
Muddy.
It is.
Yeah.
You cannot see anything in that water besides dark brown.
Well, it's all silt running out of the jungle
Yeah.
into it, and so that
Yeah.
just makes it
That's not
muddy.
going to work for your
No,
water
yeah.
source
No.
either way.
But again, when it's your only water source, that's
Yeah,
what they
you make-
drink.
That's what a
Okay.
lot of these villages drink. Yeah, it's
That's
pretty bad.
A lot of diseases, again,
Yeah.
a lot of sickness. It's because they have to drink that water. But again, we got to see a couple well dedications, them getting that fresh water, and that was super cool. We got to sing worship next to them, again, pray for it, get to see them use it, and like they're running through it, putting their hair through it, all this kind of stuff. They're just super excited.
One of the guys that many people know about from our church here, Michael Pagano, has his own ministry. He does this full time and his ministry partner, who happens to live in South Africa, joined us here, met us in Manaus, and joined us on this trip. Well,
That's
through
JD
their
that you
ministry,
talked about
JD,
earlier.
yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Through their ministry, they raised money for these two water wells. Each water well cost $6,000. And they were able to, through their listeners and through their video cast, they've got like 500,000 followers, and they put out the word and they say, hey, how about if we raise the money to put some water wells in these villages we're going to go visit?
Yeah.
And they raised enough to sink 2 water wells. And it happened to be 2 of the villages we visited
Oh, that's
were 2
cool.
that they were responsible for raising the water wells. So they got to be there. The 2 that helped raise the money for them got to be there to dedicate those water wells that had just been drilled.
Yep.
One of the ladies at, I guess it was the first one, the third village, but the first one where we dedicated the well,
Yeah.
she was the leader of the village. And she got up and she said, I've been praying for 18 years for someone to come help us find clean water.
Wow.
All we have is that muddy river water, and then when we get to dry season, which is going to happen here in a couple of weeks, all we have is mud. And we didn't know what we were going to do for clean water. So at just the right time, God answered my prayer, and you were able to help us find clean water. And thanks to you, you are the absolute answer to 18 years of prayer, and that was resulted in the water well that they have for the community now.
Can you guys walk me through the dynamic of like the things that you bring, like whether it's a soccer ball or whatever gifts, or the skills and expertise that you're providing as kind of the appetizer to the main course of we want to spread the word? Like, how important is that balance? Because I am sure it would be great if we could just go from place to place to place and be like, hey, let's talk about Jesus. And they're like, sounds good, let's do it.
Yeah.
How important is that kind of like buffer to get that going.
Yeah, and when we talk about it, I'm going to butcher the quote, but my dad will say it, like we try to meet the physical need in order to meet the spiritual
Yeah.
need. Because that's, I
like
mean,
that.
even here,
like that.
that's a lot of the times how you're going to get their attention.
Right.
Like you said, it would be awesome if you could just walk
Yeah.
somewhere and go, we want to share Jesus with you, and people would just listen.
Right.
But even when they, people that did eyeglass and triage and dentist and
Pharmacy.
pharmacy, like all these.
yeah.
I forgot that one too earlier. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
like
even. Yeah, that's
when they did that stuff, they got to have one-on-one conversations. So even while they're ministering again to the physical need, and that person's not going to get up and leave in that moment, like they're there because they know they get this benefit of the physical need being met. So while they're sitting there, they're getting to know them. And again, they got a translator there sharing what's their story. These people can share the gospel, their testimony, all this stuff. Just by that. I mean, the evangelism team, they did do more of they just show up to these houses and people would welcome them in. And then they would start asking questions about them and get to share the gospel through that method too. So yeah, I mean, the balance of the two, I definitely think is important. Because when you can offer the physical need being met, you can show how much you care in that.
Yeah.
And I think that just helps make them more responsive.
But back to your question about supplies that we took in, usually the morning was when we were doing most of the medical work.
Okay.
And believe me, they all wanted to see the doctor. They all wanted to see the physical therapist. They all wanted to get eyeglasses. And so most of the morning was taken with that. By the time we got to the afternoon, most of that had been done. And that's when we really started doing more intensive women's ministry over here, men's ministry over here. And for that, we did take in a lot. For men, for example, we took in fishing hooks, fishing line, caps, sunglasses. I've told you about the glare off of the river. Well, sunglasses are a big deal.
Yeah.
Pocket knives, things that are I mean,
I could see that being useful.
you wouldn't believe how crazy they went over this baggie of fish hooks that we gave them, because they all have to fish.
Yeah.
That's how they provide for their family, out of the river. And so when we would do the men's ministry in the afternoon, we would tell them, come to the men's ministry, we've got gift bags for you. They would all show up. Well, when they got there, we would give them a gospel presentation. JD or Michael or somebody would talk to them about what it means to be a man of God and who Jesus is, and give them a gospel presentation, give them an opportunity to respond to that. And it was usually very well received, just overwhelmingly well received. They were doing the same thing over the women's ministry. They were painting their fingernails, trimming their hair for them, giving them utensils to use in the kitchen, things like that. And in doing that, they were at the same time, they were giving them a gospel presentation, getting to know them, just love on them. And so every person in that village, the kids were doing the same thing, I'm sure. Every person in that village at one point or another, at least one time, and probably multiple times throughout the day, got to hear, let me tell you who Jesus is to me. Let me tell you what Jesus did for me. And it was all because of what we were willing to do for them, like Zach said, for their physical needs. Phil, here, you need to provide for your family. Have this fishing line and these fishing hooks, and that'll hook you up for the next 6 months now. And they were excited about that, and that opened the door of opportunity for us to talk to them about Christ.
So, and I hope you guys understand this comes from a good place. How important is it that those people really listen or make that acceptance on their own, so you avoid, like, I don't know, bribery or what? You understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying.
So, like, how important is it that those people take that information for themselves?
Well, Zach mentioned that there's a pastor that we're partnering with down there, Pastor
Right.
Nanato. Okay, Nanato lives in Maués, Brazil, which is about 24-hour boat ride down the river from what is it called? Manaus, yeah. On the way to where we're going. Well, he has a seminary or a training center for young pastors, and what he's doing is he's training these pastors, and then he's sending them into these villages. He's assigning villages for each one of them. And so what we're doing when we go in there is we're presenting the gospel, and we're only there for 8 hours,
Right.
and then we're gone.
Right.
Well, okay, we're planting the seeds And you're right. Who knows? I mean, it's up between them and the Holy Spirit
Yeah.
whether it's a real thing or not.
And that's
Bribery, whatever
everywhere.
you want.
I mean, that could be at this church.
That's
that could be everywhere.
That is
yeah.
absolutely true. But at least we're planting those seeds.
No, I
And
get
now
you,
these
yeah.
pastors are coming in behind us, and they, because of the goodwill that we've established in those villages,
Right.
that opens the door of opportunity for these young pastors to follow up now and begin ministering to these villages. And what may have been kind of superficial at the beginning, there's an opportunity to follow up on and make it a deeper relationship and a more true commitment to Christ.
I
And
really like that, yeah.
Really, what we're doing is just planting seeds and allowing them to follow up with their ministry afterward.
And then, did you want to add anything? Sorry to cut you off there.
I mean, I would say it's like any mission trip, right? When we go on it, it can be very tempting to connect the people to you because you're going in like on fire, going in with deeper questions, intentional conversations. And if someone shows up in your life and gets to know you very quickly and is asking these deep personal questions and even sharing Jesus with you, that creates that emotional bond. And if you leave without getting them connected to local pastor or, again, local person that can get them connected to church and all that, you're doing them such a huge disservice.
Yeah.
Because you're leaving and going thousands of miles away again, and you've set them
Right.
up for failure ultimately because you then put it more as you as their savior rather than setting them up to go,
yeah.
you're a baby in terms of the Christian faith. Let me get you connected to someone that can keep discipling you. And when you've left it solely on your shoulders, you've just failed them in the end. So that was the coolest part in the end, was getting them connected with a local pastor that would be consistently going there, compared to, again, for those that were under the Catholic faith, they're waiting every 6 months to see some guy to show up for them to finally confess their sins and pray and stuff like that. And now they've got somebody that'll consistently check in, disciple them, mentor them, all these
Right.
things. And again, like any mission trip, that's a huge part of it in the end.
And I'll share one other story for you. We usually try to give them Bibles also.
Yes.
There was one case in the men's ministry where we're handing out the Portuguese language Bibles to these guys, and this guy gets this Bible and he holds it over his head like this, and he goes, finally, I have my own Bible. I've been waiting years for my own Bible. The only Bible the entire village had was in that Catholic church, and the only person with access to it was that priest that showed up once every 6 months.
Wow.
They didn't have a Bible. And this guy, the fish hooks, fishing line, sunglasses, whatever else, the thing that he was most excited about was finally getting his own Bible.
That is super cool right
Yeah.
there. So you don't necessarily need to wonder about his intentions
Right.
in that moment.
Right.
All right, so you guys do all this work, jump from village to village, and I'm sure the travel home was no problem, right?
Oh, yeah, no. By
Hour
the
on
time,
the boat, back to the direct flight.
it actually seems longer coming home than it does
Really?
down there, because by the time you leave that village and you've got, again, a 28-hour boat ride to get back to Manaus, and then you get off the boat in Manaus and you go to a hotel, and you can shower and maybe take a 2-hour nap, but then you have dinner that night, and then you go back to the hotel, prepare, and then leave for the airport. Get to the airport at midnight for remember the 2:30 a.m. flight that we were.
yeah.
Well, the 3 a.m. flight that goes back out is the one that we're on leaving.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
so by the time we actually get home to Dallas and get back to the church, we've been traveling for close to 48 hours.
Wow.
With not a whole lot of sleep, at least on my part. I don't know about you.
No, not a ton. He did quickly skip over. Well, he mentioned it like it was nothing, but the dinner that we have on the last night, that part was awesome.
Oh, is that your
That's like,
that's your reward dinner?
yeah, oh yeah.
Brazilian steakhouse.
Okay.
Okay, in
Actually,
Brazil.
in Brazil,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
That all you can eat, man. With this, and it's worth every.
Yeah.
So, we had a guy that was looking it up. All right, and this is what does a fogo de chão cost these days? I haven't
Right,
been in years, like $80-$90 a person.
Something like that, yeah.
This place that was every bit as nice and as good as fogo de chão. I think that's how it was pronounced. $16 a person. So
that's with
it
dessert
was
and
amazing.
drink. With
Yes.
dessert and
Let's go.
Yeah.
And was this your first mission trip to Brazil or no? Okay. So then I have to know on the very short, very efficient boat ride back, did you give yourself some time to kind of reflect? I know the point of the mission is not be like, oh, look at all the good things I did. But like,
Yeah.
did you give yourself a chance to kind of reflect on the work?
Yeah, I mean, somewhat. The other part of you is just like so tired. I think.
Okay,
at that
yeah,
point. So everything's a little bit in a daze when you're going back, but yeah, definitely still had some conversations just about. I mean, I think I even talked to Steve, Mickey, talked about like the stuff on the trip, the things to celebrate. We got to have a time. That was the other part. We get to do a dinner on the last night on the boat for the translators.
That's cool.
And Keely and Robin that were on the trip, they set that thing up, and it was just like a game night. Got to have fun with them, so that was really cool. But yeah, that last day going home, you get some time to talk with other people on the team. The whole time on the boat, get to hear other people's stories and stuff. But coming back, get to hear people's experiences, what they got to see. And that's always a super cool part because you don't get to see everything on these trips.
Right.
Even some of the stuff Steve's saying, I'm like, I had no idea that happened. But like now I'm like, that's cool. Like that's just more things that God did while we were there.
Now, we kind of talked abstractly or generally about the mission trip. So I want from both of y'all, it sounds hard. And that might be one of the things that people take away from this. But specifically for y'all, why would you recommend people go on this Brazilian mission trip?
Zach will attest to the fact that this is different than any other trips that we do. The other trips you go to, whether it's Germany, Spain, Mexico, or wherever it is, you went to Germany. Where did you stay when you went to Germany?
I stayed in somebody's house.
That's right.
In a bed.
That's right. Probably air conditioned, nice
It was.
beds you slept
We
in.
had Wi-Fi. Yeah, I will
chicken
admit.
bag.
I will readily admit.
There is no other trip that we do in this church that is, like I said, literally to the ends of the world, tip of the spear type thing, that is reaching an area that has not been reached almost whatsoever before. It is the hardest trip we do. It is the most physically demanding trip we do. It is the most adventurous trip that we do by far.
Sounds like it.
It is. It takes a very adventurous spirit to want to do this. We're going to start being a lot more honest about the physical demands of the trip because we want people to really know what they're getting into whenever they're signing up for it. But if you want to be a part of something where you literally can be going into a village where they have never heard the gospel message before, Germany, Puerto Rico, Spain, Mexico, they've heard it. Maybe to various degrees, but
Right.
they've heard it.
Right.
Maybe a kind of a skewed message, but they've heard it. There are places in Brazil that they have never heard it before. And there are so few places on earth that you can say that. You can be someone that can walk into the village and for the first time, think about this, since the beginning of time, you're the first person
crazy.
to walk into this
is
particular
crazy to
village
think about.
and be the one to bring the gospel of Jesus to that village that's never been heard there before.
Same question for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest point to look at if you're like, should I go on this trip? It's, do you want to see people experience God for genuinely the first time in their life? Do you want to see how they react to this incredible realization that there's a God that loves them? And again, you talk about them believing that they're like forgotten people. You know, there's a God that sees you. There's a God that's with you. There's a God that wants to comfort you, give you peace over everything you're experiencing here. Because these people, they have seen some like truly tragic things.
Yeah.
I mean, even especially these kids and these teens, the heavy weight and burden that they all carry, that we look at our own kids and teens here and you go like, man, I don't know how any of them could,
imagine.
like,
No,
it
I
would be
can't.
so
Yeah.
different. And they're the same age there, and there's just such a heavy weight on their shoulders. So if you want to go into a place and be the first sign of relief in a lot of ways, if you want to be the first sign of like, again, there's someone that can take that anxiousness off you, that can care for you better than anyone else here can. That's the coolest part of the trip, is just seeing that become a realization for these people.
Like I told you before, they call themselves the lost people or the forgotten people.
Yeah.
They call themselves the forgotten people. And we have an opportunity to be the ones to carry the message to them that you're not forgotten. There's a God in heaven that loves you, that has not forgotten you, that has not overlooked you, and wants to have a relationship with you. And that message to them that I am not forgotten, I am seen, I am known, is an amazing message for them to hear.
Well, I think you guys both delivered a lot of amazing information today. I feel very immersed in it.
Good.
Now I'm like, oh, I wish I was there. And I was like, it just ended. But like, we'll have plenty of time to gear up for the next one, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. This was very different, but very fascinating indeed. So for Steve and Zach, I am still Kevin, and Parker, who... Oh, ladies, watch out. We'll catch you next time.
Clean-shaven Parker.
Where we'll be going to Puerto Rico for the Crossroads podcast.